Multiple congressional committees and the Coast Guard investigated the cover-up, and today the House Oversight Committee released a highly critical memo detailing an interview they had with Schultz. The memo says Schultz, quote, personally made the decision to withhold Operation Fouled Anchor from Congress. Schultz stated, that was a decision by me. I own that exclusively. And that Schultz acknowledged he missed an opportunity for transparency and wished he could have a, quote, mulligan. But Schultz tells CNN in this interview the committee took his comments out of context. He said he knew if he had presented the findings to Congress, lawmakers would have seen it as a political opportunity. Schultz telling CNN, quote, I knew they would see it as here's the scandal and that they would blow it up. And he feared the push for more information would eventually reveal the identities of the victims. He said the mulligan comment wasn't about the overall investigation, but that he was second guessing whether he should have picked up the phone and called the victims. Schultz also said he did not believe he was under any legal obligation to share the findings with Congress. So let's get a reaction from a member of the Oversight Committee, Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of Illinois. He is on both the House Oversight and Intelligence Committees. Great to have you on. So again, Schultz hasn't spoken before now, despite us asking him for months and months to give us his side of the story. Now, because the committee, it appears, released this report detailing what he allegedly told the committee, he now is speaking out to CNN, trying to defend himself and why he withheld this damning report from Congress, saying he would do it all over again if he had the chance. Your reaction?
That's ridiculous. And I think that his reason for withholding that report, I would say concealing that report from Congress, is equally absurd. He said he was trying to protect the victims of the persistent harassment and the rapes in the Coast Guard Academy. I think he was trying to protect the perpetrators. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to basically prevent them from facing accountability. And I think he himself needs to be held accountable.
So I want to dive a little bit more into this and his claim to CNN that his comments to the committee were misrepresented. What do you say to that?
Again, I actually read your story and I saw this comment and I thought that doesn't ring true to me. I think that he probably does have regrets about what he did, but I think that now we need to know exactly the extent of the cover-up with regard to this report. We need to know, more importantly, why the people that committed these rapes, why the people that committed this sexual harassment were not held accountable. And now we need to do that. A lot of them were promoted, apparently, over the decades, and we need to get to the bottom of this.
Tell us a little bit more about that, about where the rest of the investigation stands. Have you seen changes being made at the Coast Guard? Will there be any repercussions for some of those perpetrators?
Well, I don't want to get into too many of the details because it's an ongoing investigation, but it's a bipartisan investigation. And I think that what I've seen lately from the leader of the Coast Guard, Commandant Sagan, is encouraging, but I need to see more. I think all of us need to see more. I think there's just too many unanswered questions. And as you can tell, many, many more victims and survivors of the harassment are coming forward. They are actually suing the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard has an opportunity to respond. I hope they don't do so in a defensive way. I hope they actually settle these claims and don't put the victims through any more hardship than they've already gone through.
Just before I move on to other topics, really quickly, again, I want to go back to what he is telling CNN, that he withheld this report because he wanted to protect the victims. I mean, does an agency, a government agency, have that right to just withhold a report from Congress?
No, absolutely not. And by the way, we are handling the sensitive information of government personnel all the time. And there are ways to do it, investigations, and there are ways to disclose the names of victims and information to Congress in a way that protects everybody. But the point is that we have the obligation in Congress to provide oversight. And the Coast Guard has the obligation to disclose information such as the results of this investigation called Operation Fouled Anchor to us, and we're gonna demand answers to the questions that we have.
Your name, I want to go to a different topic, has been thrown around as a possibility to co-chair House Oversight. Here's what the Republican chair, James Comer, told me yesterday.
I tell the press when they ask about the race for a ranking member, the Democrats have nowhere to go but up after having Jamie Raskin for the last 4 years. So I think AOC would be great. Jerry Connolly would be great. I know Raj Krishnamorthi, Ro Khanna, their names have been thrown in the hat.
Are you planning to announce a bid for the top Dem spot there?
No, I'm very happy leading the Democrats on the Select Committee on the Strategic Competition with the CCP. I'm grateful for any endorsement from Jim Comer, but I'm not interested.
All right. I want to ask you about this drone mystery in New Jersey that we're all seemingly talking about right now. Your colleague, Representative Josh Gottheimer, told CNN this morning that federal officials, quote, have a responsibility to brief the public more thoroughly and make sure everyone knows what they know. What do you know about these drones or flying objects, where they're coming from? Is your sense that the public isn't being given the whole story with this lack of explanation?
Yeah, I think that we have a lot of questions right now. As you know, there have been sightings of these drones, not only over New Jersey, but now in neighboring states. And so I'm looking forward to a briefing early next week. I'm hopeful that it will be forthcoming.
What can you tell us that you do know right now?
All I know is that basically these sightings are now numerous, and we know that commercial drones are being operated by amateurs all over the United States. We know that 50% of the commercial drone market is supplied by DJI, which is a CCP-controlled company, and obviously I'm concerned about that because those DJI drones are capable of basically having backdoor access by the Chinese Communist Party and the PRC government.
Is U.S. airspace secure?
I want to know that I believe it's secure, but I need more assurance provided by the authorities in this briefing.
All right, I will follow up with you after that briefing, of course. I want to ask you something else. Your fellow Oversight Committee member had a very strong reaction to the resignation of FBI Director Christopher Wray. Let's take a listen.
Director Wray is right that by removing himself, he removes a target, but he's going to be replaced with a partisan hack who has no real experience with the FBI. And I think for the rank and file FBI, I think his decision to resign prematurely under pressure is tantamount to abandonment of the FBI and abandonment of them and their protections, exposing them to a political purge.
So what's your reaction to that? Do you agree that Wray is abandoning the FBI rank and file? What are your biggest concerns with the Kash Patel nomination?
I wouldn't call it abandonment, but what I would say is that he's obviously resigning under political pressure. And what I'm really concerned about with Kash Patel is that, if he is basically focused on doing Donald Trump's bidding, who will be doing the bidding of the American people? So if he's like out on a political vengeance tour or political retribution tour, I'm concerned that he's going to be distracted from the very important task of going after the bad guys and protecting the homeland. Remember, the reason why we haven't had a 9/11 since 9/11 is because of the FBI. That is their job every day, to protect the homeland. And so I'm concerned that the bad guys, terrorists, maybe adversary countries are cheering if somebody gets nominated who's going to be going on a political vengeance tour or going after political enemies of Donald Trump.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Pam.